Have they made the numbers smaller that count down now? Because I
I
can't
did
even
see
see
it. I'm in a little mini viewer. It's just
it.
started, so we're here.
Yeah, we're there, but I can't see I'm not getting the Thunderbirds countdown anymore.
Yeah,
Disappointed, really.
yeah.
Anyway, welcome to Cab Chat. I'm Jamie the Cabby, and he is...
Still Tom the taxi driver. Still the real Slim Shady. Yeah. Yeah, I want to talk about, well, it's a bit of a broad topic, really, but driver working patterns and pertaining to, when do you take a job versus, oh, that's too far for me, mate? Where's the cutoff point? And also, when do you go home? Because I got slated online for my working patterns and that I'm doing the trade a disservice if there's passengers there and I want to go home and sleep.
You mean you actually go to work?
Yeah, funny
Really?
enough. Yeah. I've only been once this week. Life of a superstar, mate.
Life of a superstar, life of a celebrity here. Look. Yeah, celebrity. We've talked about those before. So, what did you had a comment on one of your YouTube videos, didn't you? And what was that comment?
So, to the effect of, I can't remember the exact guy's comments. I paraphrased it. I did put it on Twitter. I screenshotted it, but it was the effect that late at night, say 10, 11 o'clock in London, many people will know this. Many cab drivers will know this. The streets can be wild. It can be so much work in a very short period, and we don't have enough cabs really to service the demand. If you've watched any of my shift videos, you'll know that I'll generally work from about 2 to 11, and I like to be home by about midnight. That's always been the case because I believe that if you burn the candle at both ends, if you work too late into the early hours, if the
It
work's
affects your
there,
following day.
it affects your following day. It affects your sleep, it affects your health, it affects your mental cognition, everything. So it's always having that hard rule of going, right, done now, I'm going to go, or maybe if you get one far enough out, let's say you end up in Hampstead, do you turn around and come back in or do you go home? And the comment was basically saying that to the effect of, how like dare you, we've got like passengers that are begging out, crying out for cabs. Why are you turning that down? You should be there servicing the demand. And to what extent? you know?
Yeah, when do you switch off? Well, if it was, like yesterday, it was slow in the morning, and then come the afternoon, it was sort of mad in town, apparently. And when I got back into town, it was manic. There was people everywhere, and the apps were going ping, 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 and Jump was going absolutely berserk and giving me wrong destinations and all sorts of things. But yeah, when do you actually switch off and go home? It's like, that was a prime example last night when I took that job on Jump going to Cloudesley Road, Bexley, DA1 or DA8, sorry, DA8. And I went and picked the young lady up and I said, right, so we're off to Bexley. I'm full of joy because I've got a job going sort of in the right direction. And she said, Cloudesley Road. I went, yeah, Bexley. And she said, no, Cloudesley Road N1, which is now taking me in the completely wrong direction. You can't really say to the young lady on her own, no, sorry, I'm not taking you. I want to go Bexley.
Once you've already got them in and everything.
Yeah. It was like, I just took her up to Cloudesley Road, which then has now put another sort of 30 to 35 minutes on my day. But yeah, when do you switch off? I've had people get in a cab years ago and you're sort of on your way home, haven't got your light on, forgot to lock the doors. You pull up a set of lights and someone jumps in the back. And they're like, I want to go to Chelsea. Well, sorry, mate, my light wasn't on. I'm on my way home. Well, you've got to take me. No, I haven't. My light wasn't on. So, I suggest you get back out. Could you please get back out again? And it's like, I'm not getting out. Well, if you're not getting out, you're coming home with me then, aren't you? You know, and it's even further for you to walk from where I live than where you are at the moment. So it might be best for you to jump out now and see if you can find another cab or start walking in the right direction. But yeah, people's expectation is that because you're a cab driver, you've got to be working all the time and serving the public continuously.
Yeah,
which
like I've had it. You know, I'm sure many people have had it where you drive in on like a day off or something because it is your own personal vehicle as well, and people are hailing you down, and they look in the back and they're like, "There's no one in the back. Like he has to take me. Like what a knobhead. He drove past me."
Yeah, you haven't got the brains to look at the light and think, "Oh, his light ain't on. He's obviously booked, or he's not working, or he might be going to lunch, or he might need to go and use the toilet." You know, because maybe they think that we've actually got a portaloo fitted in the driver's seat that we just sit there and do our business while we're driving around. Because even that, when you say to people, I need to go to the toilet, you know, sorry, you know, I'm really sorry, but I'm heading somewhere so that I can go and use the toilet. Well, can't you just take me then? No,
yeah.
I need to go and use the toilet. No, you have a toilet in your office or wherever you work, and unfortunately in the cab, don't. I've got to go and find one, and I need to go to the toilet. But you're a cab driver. You should take me.
And there's there's other conditions as well that I've people have slated me out on this before when I've done bits on the Wizam podcast. You know, you've got the 12-mile rule, which if it's longer than 12 miles or it's likely to take over an hour in length, then
you can legally
refuse it.
Yeah.
And I've done that on occasions before because near the end of my shift or whatever the reason might be. And, you know, there's cab drivers out there going, well, you just take the job. And I do get it to, there's two sides to this, right? I do get to the point of if someone's hailed down a cab, you're there for hire, they don't really want to be turned out. They just want to just get in the cab and go, right? But then the point we'll come on to in a bit later on is things like apps, right? If an Uber driver is allowed to sort of pick and choose based upon where they want to go, I'm not saying we pick and choose all of our jobs, but I think it's very, you know, fair that a 12-mile distance from central London is quite a way, really, isn't it? Which if you're, you know, a lot of drivers don't live in London. We both don't live in London. We live out. So depending on which way you're going.
Well, to put it into perspective, if you're in central London, and you've got an hour's drive home from central London, and that job is going to take you an hour in the wrong direction, that then means your drive home is 2 hours, yeah? Which means you're now 2 hours late getting home, which could affect your day the following day, which then the knock-on effect is if that's on a Monday and you don't usually work on a Sunday, if that's on a Monday, that can have a knock-on effect for your whole working week.
Yeah, which then means you're less able to serve people the following days.
Yep. And the other problem is, you know, when do you feel it is unsafe to take a job? Because I've had it where I was working, I did quite a long day, and a young lady, I'm coming along the Strand, I didn't even have my light on, but this young lady's desperately trying to hail a cab. And I've stopped, and she was looking like she was going in the right direction, sort of east, you know? And I stopped, and she said, will you take me to Watford? And I said, look, I'm tired. I said, and, you know, I'd love to take you to Watford because it's a really good job. But, you know, I said, I don't think it'd be safe for me to take you up there and then for me to try to drive home afterwards. I said, look, there's some cabs coming along behind me. I said, how one of them? I said, if they refuse to take you, I said, I'm going to wait here with you. If they refuse to take you, I will take you. Yeah. I said, but I'm sure it will suit one of these drivers coming along behind me. And the first cab that came along, oh, yeah. And then she jumped in. She come back. She said, thank you very much. And she jumped in the cab with him. But, yeah, you know, sometimes it becomes unsafe for you to do that job because if you are tired and you thought, right, I've got sort of an hour to get home now and then I can go to bed or whatever, and that's going to put another 2 hours on your day, and you're thinking, really, I'm going to start sort of thinking I'm going to fall asleep, start feeling really tired on the way back, and then my driving abilities going to become a bit, you know, what's the
Yeah,
word
and I
for it?
mean that's why you have that limit there, that 12-mile rule or 1 hour because of that exact you've got to have a cut off somewhere because otherwise I mean, I had it once at Euston where someone was like, I mean, it was actually a pretty sweet job thinking about it, but going back to like my hometown, like out near in Essex, like Braintree way, and it was a sweet job, but then I said to him, "Well, no, it's quite far. Can't really do it." I was living in North London at the time. One of the Euston train station marshals went, "I'm going to report you. Then you've got to take this job." I'm like, how ridiculous an expectation that a job that's going to be at this time of day probably about 2 hours or more. And I showed him the fare chart in the back, and away we went. But then I do see sometimes where cab drivers come from on this, that you're there to provide a public service. It's a bit like going up to, a restaurant or like a takeaway hatch and saying, "Can I have that sandwich?" And they're like, "No, no, no, no."
Yeah, but by the same token, if you go up to them at closing time
Yes.
and say, "Can I come in and sit down and eat?" And they say, "We're closing."
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but you're still here. You're
Still,
still here.
you got a bit of food behind the
You've got,
counter there.
I'm
Just
sure you've got
rustle up.
something left, and I'll just come in and sit down and have something to eat. And it's like, no, but we're closing. We've got to go home because we've got to open again tomorrow morning. Same scenario, really. It's, there is a point where a restaurant will refuse to serve you because they're closing.
So
And they
going
don't
a
want-
bit broader on this, you're a man of the airport.
Yeah.
What about the airport? This is what came up on Twitter probably about once or 2 weeks ago about the idea that there's a lot of different rules of what drivers can and can't take or don't want to take at the airport. How do we sort this system out?
Well, I mean,
Sorry,
basically,
before we go into it, actually, just some people don't work at the airport. So what am I alluding to here, first of all, Jamie?
well, I suppose some drivers refuse jobs that go too far. So at Heathrow Airport, you're compelled to accept any hiring which is within 20 miles of Heathrow Airport or an hour's duration. So there are some drivers that work the airport that decide that they do not want to go to places like Whitechapel or Canary Wharf because any day of the week, that is over an hour's duration to get to Canary Wharf, and even Whitechapel on most days of the week. So they'll refuse them because what they want to do is, do a job into the West End or wherever, spin around and go straight back again. And, to get as many jobs in a day as possible. Whereas if they take that job, and this is the mentality of some of them sometimes, if they take that job to Canary Wharf, they might not get as many jobs in. But then if they did 2 Canary Wharfs, it's probably going to be better than the 3 jobs they're trying to do in the first place. So it swings and roundabouts, really. But yeah, you're compelled to take any journey within 20 miles of Heathrow Airport or an hour's duration. And the rules are that anything outside of the Metropolitan Police area, a driver can price. He can price it because he's not compelled to use a taximeter because you're now travelling outside of your licensing area. So, there's suggested minimums, and that's where the fares fare scheme came from, because some places that are quite local but outside of the Met would have been priced very highly, and it would have been unfair to the passenger. So that's why it's called fares fare, because it's a fare that is fair to both the driver and the passenger, gives the driver time to get straight back onto the rank, and the passenger pays less. So that's the difference with Heathrow Airport. Within central London, 12 miles you're compelled, or an hour. Heathrow Airport, 20 miles.
But is that system, would you say, fit for purpose at Heathrow? Because, I mean, the example that some of our colleagues and advocates for not this Heathrow system or whatever would say is that someone comes out of a terminal, they've had a long flight, and they say, "Driver, I'd like to go to the Tower Hotel, please." And they go, "Oh, no, it's a bit far."
But normally a driver, with something like that, normally the driver behind will take it. Yeah. You sort of get problems when it's maybe a Windsor or a Slough on a fares fare, and the rank agent might go 7 cabs down the rank before somebody will take it. which is understandable. It's going the wrong way. It's not the best job in the world. And you've got 90 minutes. It's putting another hour on your day, not an hour to 90 minutes on your day to get back to Heathrow. So it does seem to work. There are occasions when it doesn't work. And normally, when it doesn't work, it's normally not down to the driver. I've got to be honest. From my observations, it's normally because the passenger wants to go somewhere, but doesn't want to pay to go there. They basically want to pay a lot less. And most of the drivers tend to look at it and go, no, not doing that. And that's when the rank agent's walking all the way down the rank, asking every single driver, they want to go so-and-so, but they only want to pay this. Nah, no thank you. What's the point? And that's when it doesn't seem to work. But other than that, it does seem to work. The local fare system seems to work quite well. The only thing I feel with the local fare system is that if this new system comes in, which is geo-based, I think it'd be fairer to the driver because they won't be on a time limit. I think this time limit thing is, if you're doing a local journey, you're doing a local journey.
Yeah.
I don't see that you should be restricted to a time getting back, which, it promotes bad driving. And I've always been against the ticket system for a long, long time. But then if you didn't have the time limit, you'd have a lot of skullduggery going on, should we say?
Yeah. So in lieu of a better system or app or whatever, that's kind of works for now. So that segues us neatly onto our next point, next topic of today's show. I know we normally only do one. We normally only do one topic per show because these are like
we're trying to clear up some topics that we've had hanging around for a while that don't really fill up a whole show, but we want to really talk about, and so we're sort of combining them, aren't we? Slipping a couple into each show at the moment.
So apps. Oh, sorry, mate.
Just to let everybody know that we are probably going to take a week or a 2-week break after this show for holidays because I'm away, and we won't be able to get together to record. It may only be a week, but it may be 2 weeks. Depends on how long I decide to stay away for. But yeah, it leads us on to our next topic, which is apps, and not the sort of conversation that we've had in the past about apps. Basically, are the corporate apps eating themselves and destroying each other, which I think is actually happening? And will this leave space for smaller, niche, bespoke apps that maybe have selected drivers on board? That maybe service a particular clientele or, particular customers. Now, with regards to corporate apps eating each other, I think that's already happened. Lyft has purchased Free Now and then gone on to purchase Get as well. So basically, yes, they have eaten each other. So we've only got one real provider of corporate app services in London now, which is Lyft, basically, by any other word. And, from what American clients tell me, they consider Lyft to be no better than Uber. In fact, a lot of them say that Lyft is worse than Uber. So I don't know where that leaves us as a taxi trade with Free Now or Get. I mean, they've been a source of work for drivers for a number of years now, but I'm talking to lots of drivers and even speaking to the people at Free Now, and they're saying that, the drivers are converting the Free Now and Get customers over to Jump and blackcab.com. But there are, and I'm not going to name any of them, there are some other apps on the horizon. People are working on things behind the scenes. I'm testing one for someone. And these apps are promoting the driver, not the corporate, whereby the driver can build his own client base with one of them, and another one where basically they can scan your QR code and book you direct, but it doesn't compel you to do the job because it gives you a network of drivers around you that you actually personally select. You select the drivers you want to be able to offer your jobs to, jobs that you don't particularly want to do yourself or can't do yourself. You can offer it to a network of drivers yourself. And I'm just wondering whether this is the way forward now. I predicted a long time ago that I thought that these big apps would end up eating themselves. And I said it on this show, and I felt that smaller apps with smaller numbers of drivers either covering a smaller area, maybe there would be an app for Wimbledon or an app for Greenwich or something like that, or, an app for Mayfair covering, the corporate clients or, things like that. And I've always felt that maybe that would be the way forward. And with the fact that, a lot of corporate clients used to use an app, Blacklane, which is now part of Uber. It's been swallowed up by Uber. So this is what I'm saying about all these apps eating each other. Does it leave us as the taxi drivers an opportunity to slide in there with smartly dressed drivers, nice clean cabs, giving a professional service, courteous service, getting out, opening the door, things like that, for some of these corporate clients with drivers who actually know where they're going?
Yep. Yeah, we're seeing this in a lot of sectors, to be fair. The fact that apps can now be made easier than ever through the help of AI, which is what yourself have been doing, but it removes the idea that there has to be one big person or one company who knows how to make an app that makes a big, general, broad app, to now that you have individualized apps for everything. So much so that it's believed that even us personally, there will be apps that we will have in our lives that we can then go get made. I guess the democratization of having apps made will become much more personal and individual. A bit like making tax digital in some ways, because that's kind of like a slight twist on this, and some of the accountancy firms have made their own apps for this, but it will just happen at every level and every facet of society. So I think what you're referring to there is that you have I guess it would have started off as small apps, so like, taxi specifically only, then it grows bigger and bigger. Now that model of having a big app, like a Free Now, like a Get, is not going to work. Because as you've seen by the buyouts, mergers and stuff like that, it now comes back round to the individual drivers, and it's going to be a real scope for lots of different apps where, as you say, it's about the individual driver. People will book that driver specifically, so it gives more power back to the drivers. I think that's going to be a very interesting move. I think it's definitely going to go that way.
While we're on the subject of apps, we've got our own app, haven't we, Tom?
You say we, I mean you, and I just kind of just feed you ideas from time to time.
But we've got a cab chat app, haven't we?
Yes.
Yeah. That's the one I'm talking about.
Yep.
We've got a cab chat app. So if you want to download the cab chat app, it is a web-based app. It's what is known as a progressive web app. And it does have push notifications in it. So because I put them in the other night, you need to enable push notifications. So basically, if you go to cabchatshow.uk/app, you'll see it pop up, and then you just go to share on your phone and scroll down, save to home screen, save it to your home screen, open it up, enable notifications, and you'll get notified of when we have a fish and chip meet in the future, because it'll pop up on your phone.
And also you can submit all your voice notes there as well if you wanted to contribute to the show, whatever your raging topic is that you want to talk about. We're always after new topics on the show, and we're after drivers' opinions, so do submit them in there and we can go over them. But it's just another way that apps have become just much more accessible.
Yeah, and in the words of Holly from Ascot's, don't be shy, come say hi. So yeah, well, I mean, do you think this is the way forward with
I'm seeing it in lots of things. So like, for example, I do a very niche type of biking called trials biking, and as a result, the parts to buy, like the second-hand market to buy the bikes and that are so niche. If you put them on eBay, you can never, the market's not thriving enough that eBay is frequent with listings to be able to buy them. So one of my friends went ahead and made his own trials app. So then that's one place specifically for those people. And as you say, there'll be an app just for Mayfair. There'll probably someone make an app just for going home jobs, lining you up with jobs to go home and stuff.
That's another
Obviously,
idea.
yeah, there's mechanisms to how's it going to work with customers, but a better way of looking at the app landscape is rather than um, getting all the drivers on there and then pushing it out to all the customers. Maybe it's an app for everyone who lives in your local village and go, right, this is me, I'm a cab driver. You can all take this app. It's my app. It just links to me. And when you're in London, you can see where I am and you can just ping me and just see if we're going home. And then we can do a discounted ride.
Yep. Yep, definitely.
You're going to go home and make that now, aren't you?
I'm going to go and just have a fiddle with Claude. But no, the other thing is, you know what would be really great, right, in a taxi, yeah? And it's something that I sort of thought about and someone suggested. If you had a screen in the cab, which is really possible now with like tablets and things, they're cheap, aren't they? And you had, as you're driving around London, and it popped up dynamically with, you're driving past the Houses of Parliament and it pops up on the screen with a picture of the Houses of Parliament. We are driving past the Houses of Parliament. This was built originally in 1042 by Edward the Confessor.
You just don't
like
want to have to do tours anymore. Your AI and your tours, like, yeah, just put the DVD on. That's like the supply teacher who just goes, yeah, we're going to watch a DVD. We're going to watch a video today.
Yeah, because I can't be asked to teach you anything anymore. No, I just thought it would be good for those that are not tour guides, giving people information, and it's the technology to do that in the past has always been quite expensive. The technology to do it now is really cheap.
Yes.
It's really cheap.
I've got so many ideas that could help benefit the cab trade, right? And I'm going to run over a few of them here because I don't care who takes them and does whatever with them. One was a taxi beacon. So the idea that if you're standing on the street, almost a bit like, maybe it'd be attached to a hotel, something like that, but almost like the lights that the hotels have to say we need cabs or whatever. There should be something fitted inside of every cab that then basically tells people on the street how close a cab is coming back in. So, because that's the one thing. They did this on the London Underground where you didn't know how long the train was waiting, and it improved passenger satisfaction just by installing a dot matrix screen that says next tube will be in 5 minutes. So something that kind of says how many cabs are coming back into the area. I mean, that's one of them. In New York, on there, they have the shark fin. Oh, my internet's gone. In New York, they have the shark fin advertising screen on top. It has current traffic conditions to every airport or the two airports that they go to most frequently. So it will say 45 minutes to go to LaGuardia, 30 minutes to wherever. So before hailing it, you can go, oh, yeah, I'll get that one or whatever. May or may not work for us, who knows? But it's quite an interesting one. And what was the other one I had? It would have been like a taxi rank analyzer, but we're doing it with apps by saying, oh, there's 10 cabs at this rank or whatever. To have a camera on top of every single rank, work within TfL, it then gets fed into an app that then gets fed back to the drivers, and then you can see what the progress of the ranks are to know whether to go there or not.
Well, one of the apps that I'm testing is, it does, as you pull close to a rank, a pop-up comes up and says, like if you go into the feeder park at Heathrow, it pops up, you're in Heathrow, are you in Heathrow feeder park? And can you update the waiting times for drivers? Not quite as comprehensive as the one that I've built for the airport, but it's just an addition to that particular app. Not my app, somebody else's, but I believe it does the same when you go onto major taxi ranks as well, like King's Cross. It'll ask you how busy the rank is and whether there's people waiting or how many cabs are there, that sort of thing. So, looks like Tom's internet has just completely locked up and he's disappeared.
Iffy. Yeah, I think I'm still here, but
you're still here. As long as we've got your voice, that's all that matters. Don't need to see your face. But yeah. So yeah, that's something similar to what you're saying, Tom, whereby, but all of these things are all dependent upon the driver actually using it, you know?
Well, what we need though, CMT had this, and I'm sure Jump has it to a degree. I don't know if it has, but CMT had a business intel screen on their tablet, and it basically worked out the frequency and locations of where people started and stopped their meters. So it could work out by location and roughly by rank where and how frequently those meters are being started. So we just need to link into the meter somehow. I'm sure Jump do it. I mean, if anyone from Jump's listening, this would be great to have in the pipeline and another invaluable thing to make their system even better. I'm still yet to go on it because of the fees, but if they can introduce more stuff like this, it's more of a compelling sell to the driver.
Yeah, without a doubt. Be interesting to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment down below on this video, or if you're listening to the audio podcast, then go to our new app, cabchatshow.uk/app, and leave us a voice message on what your thoughts are on the way the app industry for London taxis is actually progressing and moving forward. Are you still using Free Now and Get, or have you decided to, or are you moving away from them and using sort of Jump and blackcab.com?
Yep, all those kind of things. What do you want to see within an app? Because maybe one of us could make it or code it, or perhaps give some inspiration to the Jump.
Yeah, exactly. So until next week, or until next time, I've been Jamie the Cabby, and he's been Tom the taxi driver. Thanks for watching and listening, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. See you next time. Bye-bye.